Got a question from a landlord asking if a tenant still has to pay their monthly rent even after getting a 60-day notice of termination of tenancy. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, this answer is going to depend on a number of things, including if the landlord is subject to the Tenants Protection Act. Okay, but generally speaking, when a tenant gets a termination notice from a landlord, the terms of the tenancy, the lease agreement or rental agreement, are still in effect for those 60 days. That would include the duty to pay rent as it becomes due under the lease agreement or rental agreement. Okay, so if this landlord was exempt from the Tenants Protection Act, yes, this tenant would absolutely have to pay rent until the end date of the termination of the tenancy. Okay, even if the tenancy ended in the middle of the month, and let's say the rent is paid in advance on the first of the month, the tenant has to pay the prorated amount of rent. Okay, now I did caveat my answer to, the answer does depend. Some landlords might have to comply with the Tenant Protection Act of 2019, which include giving notice for cause or terminating for a no-fault just cause reason. And if a landlord is terminating a tenancy for a no-fault just cause reason under the Tenants Protection Act and they're not exempt from the Act's protections, that landlord is going to have to provide the tenant at least 1 month's worth of move-out assistance. Okay. And the landlord in California can do that in one of two ways. It's either one, the landlord provides a direct payment to the tenant within 15 days of issuing the termination notice, or the landlord could opt to waive the last month's rent that would become due, during the last month of the tenancy. Okay. Now, landlords subject to the TPA that have to give 1 month's worth of move-out assistance, they have to disclose the right that the tenant has the right to collect at least 1 month's worth of rental assistance from the landlord, and the landlord at that point has to opt which option they're choosing, if they're going to pay the tenant a payment within 15 days or they're going to waive last month's rent. Okay, so that would have to be done on the termination notice. Now, there's a little caveat. I tell my landlords this: if you're opting to waive last month's rent under the tenancy, you're going to have to make your termination notice terminate at the end of the rental period. So like if you pay on the first of the month, you got to let the tenant stay there through the 30th or the 31st. Okay, so that's kind of one drawback of waiving last month's rent. The law only provides those two options. Okay, there is a small exception if a tenant owes rent for that accrued during COVID, basically. There's a certain period of time, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but that's the little exception. Okay, so if your tenant owes your rent for like a couple of months ago, you can't waive that under the Tenants Protection Act. Okay, there is no exception for that. Okay, you either pick the rent waiver or you pay the 1 month's worth of move-out assistance in 15 days. So, landlords, if you're contemplating terminating a tenancy and you don't know if you're going to be subject to the Tenants Protection Act or not, and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. Our website's down below. You can book a free case review to see if we can help out. Okay, put your comments, questions down below. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.